Today, the world engages in activities drawing attention to specific health topics concerning individuals all over, and you may be noticing the heightened calls to eliminate health inequities. Today is World Health Day, and our bit of preparation for today is keeping you in the know on health issues right across the world, but may very well hit close to home. Welcome to today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson. We update you on the day's news first.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, April 7. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ is reporting that it believes the pandemic's worst impact on the economy is behind us, although the economic outlook remains uncertain. Based on this and other factors, the BOJ says, effective immediately, financial holding companies, FHCs, and deposit-taking institutions, DTIs, can choose to resume the distribution of dividends to shareholders owning more than 1% of issued shares declared for their 2019 and 2020 financial years. Dividends or profits for 2021 can also be declared and distributed to shareholders. This agreement was reached after the central bank met with representatives of FHCs and DTIs on April 1. It reverses the decision taken in May 2020 and further strengthened in December in response to the financial institutions experiencing extraordinary demand for liquidity in order to facilitate the needs of their customers and to build buffers against growing uncertainty associated with the COVID-19 pandemic in Jamaica. The central bank says the agreement to now resume dividend declaration and distribution reflects the fact that the amount of loans afforded payment accommodations since the onset of the pandemic has fallen. In addition, the BOJ says the financial system has adequate capacity to absorb unexpected losses that could arise as the crisis unwinds. While commending financial institutions' efforts to proactively manage the risks arising from the crisis over the past year, the BOJ is urging them to remain prudent in their decisions to declare and distribute dividends. Jamaica has finalized arrangements with global cruise company Norwegian Cruise Line to homeport one of its vessels in Montego Bay. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the service is set to begin on August 7, 2021. He says this marks a planned return of cruise shipping to the island for summer, which will aid efforts to rebuild the tourism sector and boost the country's overall economy. While he welcomes the development, Minister Bartlett says the public can be assured that the cruise lines are adhering to strict COVID-19 safety protocols. He says the ministry has also been working tirelessly to develop the necessary policy and strategic frameworks which will ensure that the resumption of cruise shipping will be a safe, seamless, and secure experience. The Norwegian Joy, which has an occupancy of approximately 3,800, will operate at 50% capacity in keeping with COVID-19 protocols. Passengers will also be required to be fully vaccinated and take a test prior to boarding the ship. The vessel's itineraries will include 7-day packages sailing out of Montego Bay. Measures are being put in place to ensure the safety of students who will sit the ability test component of the Primary Exit Profile (PEP) on May 26. Education Minister Favour Williams gave that assurance during a recent seminar of the National Parenting Support Commission. She says stakeholders are aware of the concerns by parents and teachers regarding exposure to COVID-19, and the Health Ministry has been engaged in the process. As a result, Minister Williams says all resources are being coalesced to ensure proper sanitization and social distance protocols are maintained, adding that students will be adequately placed in groups of no more than 10. The number of invigilators and presiding officers at the exam centers have also been increased to ensure smooth administration of the assessment. The Education Minister says ultimately the vaccination program, together with all the protocols such as wearing of masks, washing or sanitizing of hands, and keeping distance, will ensure that education stakeholders are kept safe through this pandemic. Meanwhile, the Education Ministry is reporting that over 10,000 secondary students from 15 schools across the island have benefited from social enterprise awareness sessions that should improve their critical thinking, leadership abilities, and collaboration skills. They were engaged under the British Council's Social Enterprise in Secondary Schools program, which is student-led and teacher-guided. Acting Country Manager of the British Council, Damien Campbell, says the program has supported young people to improve their prospects for employment.
From that, we've had young people being very interested to start their social enterprise clubs. They've also been supported through master trainers who were trained by or consultants from the UK around social entrepreneurship to engage young people today around what it means to run a successful social enterprise, starting from your school, but eventually seeing themselves as a successful social entrepreneur once they transition to the work world.
Mr. Campbell was speaking recently at the Council's second annual Social Enterprise in Secondary Schools Summit. Under the program, 60 teachers have been trained in social enterprise methodology, 170 organizations have been engaged, and 18 million people have been reached globally through various publications and broadcasts. And finally, more than 6,000 meals were given to members of the homeless population in the corporate area during the Easter holidays lockdown. The initiative was made possible through a collaborative effort organized by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation's Poor Relief Department and involved councillors, corporate Jamaica, volunteers, and various church groups. On each day, breakfast and lunch were prepared and distributed to the homeless. Mayor of Kingston, Delroy Williams, says this is part of the municipal corporation's broader measures to secure the nutrition and improve safety for the capital's homeless. He is urging other Good Samaritans to ensure they coordinate with the local authority when considering to launch street feeding programs. The KSAMC-operated soup kitchen provides approximately 600 breakfasts and 600 lunches daily to homeless across the city. A temporary shelter was also constructed at Church Street to accommodate the homeless since the start of the pandemic. And a transitional facility is currently under construction at King Street, which is expected to provide additional shelter support to over 100 homeless persons. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
To properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
Our government continues to hammer the message of equity, efficiency, and transparency in the administration of our vaccine supplies. We're now echoing and amplifying that message, and really, that's what today's observance is about, ensuring all people are able to access quality health services. Well, the vaccination drive has started with some of the most vulnerable groups. Here are the details.
On Monday, March 8, 2021, an atmosphere of relief was almost palpable among Jamaicans waiting to access COVID-19 vaccines that would offer protection against the highly contagious and deadly coronavirus. This as the first batch of vaccines arrived on the island that afternoon. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, and Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith were at the Norman Manley International Airport to receive the shipment. 50,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines arrived as a gift from the government and people of India. This precedes the majority of vaccines procured by the Jamaican government, with a total of 4 million doses scheduled to arrive in the country in the coming weeks. Within 48 hours of the arrival of the first shipment of COVID-19 vaccines, the Ministry of Health and Wellness began administering the vaccines to health workers on the front line in the battle against COVID-19 and to vulnerable Jamaicans across the country.
All across Jamaica, primarily in our healthcare facilities, vaccines are being administered. So it is a historic day, and it represents a major shift in the approach now that vaccines are available. And we believe could signal the beginning of the end. As long as we have the supplies and the people are willing to take the vaccine, the beginning of the end for any significant threat that this COVID-19 virus represents.
Public health nurse Marcia Thomas Yetman was the first Jamaican on the island to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Nurse Thomas Yetman, who has been serving the profession for up to 27 years and is employed to the Southeast Regional Health Authority SERA, was among a group of 40 persons inoculated with the AstraZeneca vaccine at the Good Samaritan Inn in Kingston on March 11. Former Prime Minister Bruce Golding and his wife Lorna, as well as former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson, were also among those who got the jab on the first day. They are encouraging other Jamaicans to do the same. Nurse Thomas Yetman says in the moments leading up to receiving the vaccine, she was nervous as she has a fear of the needle.
This vaccine is safe. Thousands and thousands of people across the world have been vaccinated with this vaccine. And they're still alive, they're still doing well, and complications are minimal based on what we have been told from studies done. And so I would encourage persons to sign up and get your vaccines as soon as it's available to you.
I am recommending all Jamaicans, especially like me, the vulnerable, to be vaccinated. I'm begging you.
Today is my first shot, thank God. It's a relief. It was an awesome experience. The organization here is fantastic. Keeping also with all of the protocols, so the social distancing, the mask, and of course the sanitizing. The shot does not hurt. Little burn does not hurt, no more than any other vaccine. And it's the start of freedom. It's the first step. As you know, those of us over 60 are on stay-at-home orders. It's been a year, Minister, and it's time for us to get back to normal life, to exercise, etc. And this is the start. Not over. The journey has to wait for the second shot, but it's time. And I think it's a relief for the country that we have got to this point, and you have another piece in the armory. Doesn't mean we can stop masking, social distancing, sanitizing, but now you have your fourth.
Day one of the vaccination program continued across some 70 sites within the 4 regional health authorities, where some 3,280 persons within the vulnerable groups received the first dose of the vaccine. Healthcare workers in St. James turned out in large numbers to take the first of the 2 jabs of the COVID-19 vaccine.
I'm happy to lead by example. It was a smooth process. I was ready for it.
I've been looking forward to the vaccine reaching. I'm very excited, and I'm so happy that I'm here today and I have received my first dose of the vaccine.
Community health aide Philip Dehaney is included among the first set of persons in Jamaica to be inoculated against the coronavirus.
Being a member of the health sector, I decided to lead by example, took the vaccine. So far, there's nothing, just like a regular flu shot. There's nothing really much to feel.
March 10, exactly 1 year after the first case of the coronavirus was confirmed in the country, Jamaicans are feeling relief at the start of the program to give citizens access to vaccines against the coronavirus.
Beyond COVID-19 and its damaging impact on the body, here are other health challenges like cerebral palsy. We share the story of Therese Braham, a body diagnosed with cerebral palsy, but a mind as healthy as ever.
Diagnosed with what is called cerebral palsy. It is something that affects your system on a whole, so ability to talk may be affected, the ability to walk. So you have mild, severe, and moderate. So I'm diagnosed with what you call the mild. In my earlier years, I started out attending school at the Oak Valley School Experimental. At that point, I was using a walker. So I used to push it and then step with it. However, I was walking on my toe point. So about at the age of 12, Surgeon Golin, with the consent of my mother, did a surgery, hoping to have me standing up straight and being independent somewhat of the walker. However, the surgery did not go as we would want it to go, so my limbs became weaker and I ended up in a wheelchair. Well, growing up at first, like any other child, you'd wonder, why is it I'm not walking as a normal child would? As the years go by, you started to say, no, but I want to be able to do this, do that. However, the Mona Rehab Center provided a place for you where after a while you stop looking at that because you saw other persons who had similar disability like yours or even more severe, and we were all taught to do stuff. I moved on to Mona High School. After leaving high school, I wanted to do something with myself because sitting home was not me. And I was the type of person where I want to go out, so guess what? I need to support myself because as much as I love my parents, I was of the fact, one day they're going to be retiring. Then my head goes back, what is going to happen to me when my mother retires? So of course, and I had the family support, they said, okay, go and get a skill. I enrolled in Abilities Here, September 99. I did a 2-year course in data operations, level 1 at the time. About April, before I graduated 2001, I said, but if you're serious about not going home, you need to start sending out applications. And of course, Abilities was one of the places I sent an application to. So July 7th of that year, I started working here. Well, my disability has taught me that when it says the sky is the limit, it is. There are times when you're going to fall, but what is to stop you from rising? And one of the ways that my disability has taught me, and even some disabled association that I am affiliated with, like the Combined Disabilities Association and even Abilities Here, they have allowed me to go on exchange programs where you go and you interact with persons with other disabilities outside of Jamaica and even in Jamaica. And I have learned so much. I am able to speak about my disability. I have accepted that this is what I have. And it has also taught me that, guess what? I am sitting with cerebral palsy, but I'm not wasting my time. I'm molding other lives. I'm helping other persons to believe in themselves, to go out, because there are things I want to achieve and I feel I will achieve them. They will come with little obstacles because I'm not going to tell you that it's all good. And even my job here, it tells me if I quit, I'm saying to those that I've taught before, you can quit too. So there are times when we need to wipe the fears off and go again. Children with disabilities, whether you have CP or not, I strongly believe that you have a purpose. God has something for you to do. Because if somebody had said to me, you would be teaching, I'd be saying, really? If somebody had said to me, you'd be traveling to the various countries that I have been, I'd say, really no. I am saying to you, go out there and believe in yourself. It's going to be hard. And there's going to be days when you don't even want to see a soul, you don't want to hear anything. But after a while, shake that off and look at the good about you. Look at yourself first. What is it that you love about yourself? And once you can find one thing that you love about yourself, maximize on it and go for it, and the rest is history. Put it behind you and don't let anything stop you. My past managing director told me, life for us is a show, because he also has a disability. And whenever you get up in the morning, you have to be ready for the stage. Because the stage is ready for you, whether you're ready for it or not. Nothing can keep you down unless you want it to keep you down.
The numbers keep climbing, and yet some of you are still complaining about curfew times. Is that being selfish, or are you being smart? You continue to blame the government, stating they are not doing enough. But the big question is, Are you doing your part to help decrease the spread? The unfortunate reality is that far too many people refuse to take the coronavirus pandemic seriously until they or someone they love gets infected. Now, this is what we do not want, and I don't believe I can stress this enough. Wear your mask, sanitize. Of course, we love to hug and socialize, but just ease off some of that right now, not just for your safety, but also for others. It look hard for your relatives to be home doing all they need to in order not to catch the virus, and you out on the road being reckless and carrying it right home to them. Each one of us needs to help during this fight against COVID-19 as we work to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business in a healthy environment.
By now, you've been witnessing the drive for the fair and safe administration of the AstraZeneca vaccine to help us in this fight against COVID-19. Are you still deciding if you should opt in or out? Here's information to chew on from expert epidemiologist Professor Figueroa.
We've looked at this vaccine, the AstraZeneca vaccine. The World Health Organization has approved it as highly effective and safe. Now, what each person really needs to think about is that we do have a risk of getting COVID, and a family member has a risk of getting COVID. How can we prevent this? Certainly, by wearing a mask, as we are doing this morning, helps to reduce the risk of infection, maintaining physical distance, especially indoors. But the best way is to take the vaccine, because what that does is, once you get one dose of the vaccine, within a few weeks, your body is responding to that vaccine so that you're developing protection against COVID.
Bow your ears for a bit. Hear the trees wailing or the leaves grabbing your unwanted carbon dioxide, insects making a shrilling sound, and the tuneful noise of some unnamed and rarely seen creature reverberating within the bushes. Now open your eyes a bit wider. Watch ants band together in groups of hundreds, or wasps gathering wood shavings to build their next home, and birds preparing some sweet meal for your liking. All these make up the wildlife, those organisms that grow or live wild in any area.
Wildlife conservation is an attempt to preserve either a species or a population of a particular species, and by doing so, you in effect are also preserving its habitat because the species doesn't exist on its own. And there are different types of conservation. You have what they call in situ conservation, which is conservation within its natural habitat, and that is usually the aim of most, if not all, conservation efforts. And you have ex situ conservation, where you're trying to preserve the animals in a not so natural state, for example, in a zoo or in a controlled park area. And again, the goal is usually when their natural habitat is improved or protected in some way, then they try to repatriate those species back into their natural habitat.
And preserving the wildlife should be an important part of the human agenda. Here's why. It promotes the continuation of native plant species. Small animals like bees, butterflies, and our very own doctorbird play an important role in food production. Conserving these animals, protecting these animals, means that we are ultimately helping in pollination. It increases medicinal value. Plants are a major source of medication, but so too are animals. Take, for example, how research shows that the venom from the cobra can be used as an ingredient in making the medications for leprosy, or how lobsters can be used as antifungals. It's a way to preserve our heritage. Some plants and animals are unique to specific countries, so conserving those wildlife means conserving those traditional aspects of our culture, things like the blue maho plant or the yellow pui tree of Jamaica, and even the lions and leopards of Africa. It enhances food security by protecting natural habitats from degradation and forests against deforestation. The availability of a variety of food products increases.
Everyone needs to play a part. We have to understand that preserving the wildlife, it's not necessarily just for how it can benefit us, but we're also looking at the future generations. And so each person needs to be a little bit more responsible in what they're doing, where they dispose of garbage, cutting off areas and so forth. Understand the law, the Wildlife Protection Act, for example. One basic feature of it is that all native birds are protected. Don't catch the birds, We have hunting season, that is something that is actually regulated. But besides that, we try to encourage persons not to take matters into their own hands at times. Sometimes we have some species that we're trying to protect that are inherently can be a dangerous species, like a crocodile, for example. We encourage persons not to go out and try to catch those animals, but to call NEPA.
Here's your chance to do your part to conserve the wildlife.
This is where we close the magazine for today. If you missed any part of the package, watch it again from beginning to end by logging on to our YouTube channel. You can also visit our website and Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages for more information. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.